A yes vote for question 1 would ensure that the state auditor's office has the explicit authority to audit the House of Representatives and the state Senate regarding their use of your taxpayer dollars and their processes and procedures.
All right, welcome to the Progressive Massachusetts video series on the 2024 ballot questions. My name is Ryan Oates, and I'm a volunteer, and I'm here to talk about ballot question 1 with State Auditor Diana DiZoglio. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me, Ryan. It's great to be back with Progressive Mass.
Yeah. So I guess, I might just start off our conversation by kind of grounding in your experience, what brings you to this issue, and then we can get into like the actual ballot question itself. But what brings you to this issue?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So my name's Diana DiZoglio. I'm your state auditor. I have been talking about conducting this audit of the state legislature for a few years now, actually. It was one of the central issues I raised on my campaign for state auditor, where I committed to you, the residents of Massachusetts, that if you elected me, that I was going to audit the state legislature. I actually have fulfilled that commitment, and I did just release a 77-page audit of our state legislature that highlighted several areas for much needed improvement. But the audit that we conducted was unable to access the majority of the information that we needed in order to complete that report. Information such as financial receipts to claimed expenditures by our legislators. We could not get access to any documentation regarding the expenditures that is discretionary spending in the House of Representatives or the Senate. We were refused access to state contracts and procurement documents that the legislature uses in engaging in their state contracting process and the hundreds of thousands of our taxpayer dollars. And we were also unable to get access to non-disclosure agreement information. Recently, we released an audit report of the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, where our audit was able to identify a taxpayer-funded $1.2 million non-disclosure agreement that was executed unlawfully to conceal allegations of racial discrimination and retaliation. We were unable to get access to those same types of documents in our state legislature, where we know that non-disclosure agreements are used, but have no access to how those documents are being used, whether or not they're being used lawfully, and how much of our taxpayer money is going towards silencing victims of harassment, discrimination, abuse, or potential whistleblowers. It's unacceptable. Those are our taxpayer dollars. There should be transparency and accountability regarding how the most powerful politicians in Massachusetts use our tax dollars. We were unable to get access to all of that information, which we are able to get access to for all the other audits that our office conducts. The state legislature here in Massachusetts, which is frequently ranked as the least transparent, least accessible state legislature in the entire nation, was also just ranked as the least effective. Our office right now is only seeking to get access to, frankly, documents that should already be a matter of public record. And it's unacceptable that any politician on Beacon Hill would seek to hide basic taxpayer-funded documents that every other state entity in the Commonwealth is required to be accountable to the taxpayers on. The legislature cites separation of powers as being their argument that they hang their hat on in this debate. Friends, the legislature audits the executive branch. They actually have an entire committee dedicated to auditing the executive branch. It's called the Post-Audit and Oversight Committee, and that committee has subpoena authority over the governor's executive branch agencies and has often, repeatedly and consistently throughout history, audited and investigated with subpoena authority executive branch agencies, even having staff called legislative auditors who don't audit the legislative branch, they audit the executive branch out of the legislature. So what legislators are saying right now is an audit for thee but not for me. If this were a constitutional issue, like they are bogusly claiming, then that would mean that the legislature would not be able to audit the executive branch with those subpoena authorities, which they very well know they're able to do, and which is also why they have refused to meet me in court up until this point. So we are pushing for a yes on one. We are fighting hard against the bogus claims being made by the opposition in an attempt to mislead voters of the Commonwealth on basic matters of transparency, accountability, and access in a system of checks and balances meant to protect the voters, to ensure that we have accountability from those we have voted for.
Yeah, so I think you gave a really well-rounded framing of the problem that you're aiming to solve, the need for checks and balances to be able to provide a check and to be able to shine some light on what's going on inside of the legislature. I also wanted to ask about historical precedent, because I know you've spoken about this. So, the state, as you very obviously know, the state auditors audited the state legislature before. Could you explain some of that historical precedent?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan, for bringing that up, because I did forget to mention that, and it's a really important point. The state legislative leadership right now is claiming that there is no reason for the state auditor's office to audit the legislature, that this never happened, that this never occurred. Friends, they are gaslighting the general public right now, because our office has actually posted on our website for you to view over 100 legislative audits that have been conducted since the inception of the auditor's office back in 1849. Since that time, our office has regularly and repeatedly audited the state legislature. It's only been in recent years where, actually in the early 90s, former Speaker Flaherty refused to allow then Auditor Joe DiNucci to come in and to conduct his routine audit of the state legislature. Former Auditor Joe DiNucci went to conduct his audit, contacted legislative leaders, let them know he was coming back around to do his regular review. And the speaker at that time said, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially, "You're not auditing me." Contrary to popular belief, I am not the first auditor to fight this fight. I actually stand on the shoulders of former Auditor Joe DiNucci in this fight. So here we are, fast forward many years later in 2024, and I have picked that fight back up and have decided to push to take this issue to the ballot. And when you vote for this on or before November 5th, which is question one again, and it's a yes vote, we are trying to make sure that it's crystal clear so that legislative leaders who are currently breaking the law are no longer able to use excuses and manipulate the verbiage of the statute to serve themselves instead of to serve the taxpayers they represent.
So my last question here is, if anyone, I know we're getting close to the end of the campaign here, but if anyone is interested in helping out with the campaign, what can people do?
At this point, please write a letter to the editor talking about how you, as a progressive Democrat in Massachusetts, are supporting transparency, accountability, accessibility, all of these good things that we as Democrats support. We have been getting a lot of significant pushback because this is an issue where we were able to get Republican support on. We welcome support for good government issues from anybody who's willing to support these good government issues. And that has given establishment Democrats, such as the Speaker, such as the Senate President, the ability to suggest that because some conservatives happen to be supporting this initiative, that this is not a progressive issue. But this, as we all know, is very clearly a Democrat issue. It's a progressive issue. It's an unenrolled issue. And yes, it's a conservative issue too. Wherever you fall on the political spectrum, this impacts us in the state of Massachusetts. because we all want access to what's happening up on Beacon Hill and what's happening with our tax dollars. But we need to make sure that we're making that crystal clear so that the establishment is not able to mislead voters into thinking that this is some conservative right-wing agenda, which is what they're trying to do right now. And then please, after you post those letters to the editor or send them into your local newspaper expressing your support, then please post on your social media accounts, text your friends, text your family. And if you can make a contribution, whether it be big, whether it be small, every dollar counts. Please go to dianaforma.com and click on the ballot button. And those donations will go towards helping us spread the word in hopefully some digital advertisements in the coming weeks.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and to give us some avenues to support this measure moving forward. I'm really excited about the opportunity to get some more light in the legislature and to know what's going on in there so we can, get some good laws passed. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for all your advocacy, Ryan, and thanks to everyone who's watching. Talk to you soon. Vote yes on one.